And that's more important than what I was bringing up about not abiding by election results, not respecting what always made this country great, the peaceful transference of power.
I don't disagree with you on that. You're not going to get me to say it was a great thing the way Trump behaved.
I don't have to get you to agree or disagree.
Bill Maher just took Megyn Kelly to task, dismantling her MAGA-fueled arguments with his signature wit and brutal honesty. Once a respected journalist, Kelly now seems to be echoing Trump's greatest hits. And Maher wasn't having it. He wasted no time in calling out Trump's blatant disregard for the peaceful transfer of power, a fundamental pillar of American democracy. He also refused to let Kelly downplay the severity of the January 6th Capitol riot, reminding her that the violence was incited by Trump and could not be rewritten through spin or denial. Maher then took aim at Kelly's reliance on false equivalencies and culture war distractions, calling out her fixation on issues like trans rights and college campus due process. He dismissed them as attempts to divert attention from the real danger, Trump's direct attack on democratic institutions. And of course, Maher wasn't about to let the infamous Hunter Biden's laptop talking point slide, shutting down the narrative that MAGA supporters love to push. In the end, Maher didn't just debate Kelly. He schooled her, exposing the glaring contradictions in her defense of Trump and leaving no doubt about the dangerous path she's chosen to follow.
How about the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story? Just for one.
Oh, for f***'s sake. Really? Oh, then we're not as alike as you think. That's a stupid non-story. I mean, yes.
Says who? Look, I agree with you that the majority of the Republican Party doesn't believe that. But I do think there's a difference between it was stolen, the nonsense with Dominion voting machines and all that, versus it wasn't fair.
Nobody gives a fuck about Hunter Biden's dick.
Nobody. You're talking about yourself. I'm telling you, there are data to show people did care. They said they would have changed their vote.
Nobody who was going to vote for Trump anyway.
He dismissed the entire Hunter Biden scandal as a pointless distraction, bluntly stating, "Nobody gives an expletive about Hunter Biden's Department of Defense." He tore apart the right-wing narrative that Joe Biden somehow orchestrated his son's dealings, questioning, "Do you really think that's more important than not following the outcome of an election?" Then came the mic drop moment. Maher condemned Kelly's reliance on debunked claims, pointing out that the so-called laptop bombshell had been wildly exaggerated and lacked any real evidence of election-altering corruption. Instead, he refocused the conversation on the real issue, Trump's direct assault on democracy. For Maher, the biggest threat Trump poses isn't Hunter Biden or culture war distractions. It's his refusal to accept election results. Without the peaceful transfer of power, the entire political process can collapse, Maher warned. He likened giving Trump another shot at the presidency to failing to reinforce guardrails after a devastating crash. How many times do we let this happen before democracy doesn't recover? Kelly, clearly on the defensive, tried to pivot. Rather than addressing election denial, she shifted to hot-button social issues, bringing up hypothetical scenarios involving her daughter and transgender people in locker rooms. Maher, unimpressed, stayed on course, refusing to let her derail the discussion from the core issue, the survival of American democracy.
Election denialism, I'm not one of those people who believes that.
What's more important? What kind of country do we have?
How about my daughter not going into a locker room and seeing a man's penis? How about young men on college campuses getting due process when they get accused falsely of rape?
Well, I think that's a false equivalency. I think these things are...
What do you mean?
I think these things are important. You can handle these things through the normal due process of our system, but if we lose the system itself, come on.
When the debate got heated, Kelly tried to shift the focus to culture war issues, a classic distraction tactic. She downplayed Trump's election denial, arguing it didn't matter since it failed. Maher wasn't having it. So, a failed coup doesn't count? He shot back, pointing out that Trump had spent years surrounding himself with loyalists, who might not stop him next time. Despite Kelly's attempts to change the subject, Maher kept the focus on the real issue, the threat to democracy. Next voice, Kelly doubled down, claiming the Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed and could have changed the election. She cited polls suggesting 10 to 12% of voters might have switched sides if they had known. Maher wasn't buying it. He pointed out that the story lacked solid evidence and had been widely debunked. So, a personal scandal outweighs an attempted coup? He asked. Kelly then pushed the idea that the election was rigged because the laptop didn't get enough media coverage. Ignoring recounts and court rulings, she insisted suppression alone proved foul play. Finally, she shifted to Biden's policies, painting a grim picture of open borders leading to chaos, another distraction from the real issue at hand. Next voice, Maher quickly dismantled Kelly's MAGA-fueled claims, exposing their flimsy foundation. One of the most absurd? The idea that Hunter Biden's laptop was a smoking gun that could have changed the 2020 election. Maher shut that down fast. Nobody gives a shat about Hunter Biden's dick. Kelly wasn't done, though. She cited polls suggesting the laptop story might have influenced voters, but Maher dismissed them outright. He reminded her that despite years of scrutiny, no real evidence of Joe Biden's corruption had been found. Then came Kelly's classic whataboutism, trying to shift focus from Trump's election lies to culture war issues like trans rights. Maher wasn't having it.
To put in place people who will make it work again. I don't know if there'll be a John Ratzenberger in Georgia, someone being just a Republican, to do his...
The reason not to vote for Joe Biden is his policies. You're not woke. He's as woke, or at least his policies are, as they come. The open border bill? How could anybody vote for somebody who keeps this border open with the number of rapes and the number of murders? And I looked at that Biden event where he had all the trans people out in front of the White House, and it's like it's a guy with fake breasts showing his naked breasts on cam. On the White House. Enough commonality to make us shake our heads yes when the other one speaks a lot.
So you're going to vote for Trump?
I am going to vote for Trump, yeah.
Yeah, and, I was the one who was saying from the very beginning when everyone was laughing at me that Donald Trump will never give up power. I can't even understand that, and I understand that Biden is deeply flawed, but he does believe in...
He dismissed the entire Hunter Biden scandal as a pointless distraction, bluntly stating, "Nobody gives a expletive about Hunter Biden's Department of Defense." He tore apart the right-wing narrative that Joe Biden somehow orchestrated his son's dealings, questioning, "Do you really think that's more important than not following the outcome of an election?" Then came the mic drop moment. Maher condemned Kelly's reliance on debunked claims, pointing out that the so-called laptop bombshell had been wildly exaggerated and lacked any real evidence.